when they have pregnancy, when they get pregnant between the ages of 16 to 19, especially among adolescent, those who get pregnant during the adolescent period. So when we actually study adolescent pregnancy, we look at it in two phases.
Okay.
Between the age of 10 and, 11 and 14, and then between 15 and 19. So there are less complications for those within the 15 to 19 group. For those within the 10 to 14 group, there are higher risk of complications. So really, biologically speaking or medically speaking, where there's a little risk of medical problems, that's assuming everything is fine. You understand? There are no other social issues with it. Then 18 is probably the best age
so
for
Mrs. George, what are the adverse effects of having early childbearing?
Well, the adverse effects are quite many, and I will look at it from three major dimensions. We will look at it medically, we will look at it economically, and I will also look at it psychologically.
Okay.
Yeah, just like Dr. Molulu had rightly said, when a child I will call them girl child now, because that is what they are, according to UNICEF. UNICEF says anybody below 18 is a child. So you're either a girl child or a boy child. So if you have somebody like that, a girl child, becoming pregnant, before 18, that is what it means. Medically, initially, she might not even recognize the signs of pregnancy. It's possible for her not to recognize the signs of pregnancy. Even where she does that, she might not want to acknowledge that she got pregnant. And this has implications for early prenatal care because when somebody is pregnant, you need to get to the facility, to the health center, so that that person can be taken care of initially, so that an assessment, a baseline can be taken at the beginning, and which subsequent visits will be measured against. So if they don't, because by the time she gets pregnant, everybody is there is problem everywhere, you are all worried, they don't start early. Even by the time she now acknowledges that she's pregnant, the tendency, because she doesn't want the pregnancy, is at that particular time she doesn't want it anyway.
Right.
So the tendency to want to go for unsafe abortion, inexpensive way to get rid of the pregnancy, is there.
It's very high.
So it's quite high, and they go for, and what they have at the end of the day, maybe it's unsafe abortion. Unsafe abortion has its own complications. Wow. Like maybe if she's lucky that she didn't die in the process, she might be left with complications like even infertility, secondary fertility, and she might not be able to have even children, at the end of the day. Aside from that, let's now assume that even the pregnancy is there and it is growing. Because she is growing, the baby inside her is growing,
yes.
There is problem with her nutritional status if it's not adequately taken care of. And babies like that, if born, sometimes premature, some of them will have what we call intrauterine growth retardation. That is, the baby will not grow well in the tummy, and by the time the baby is born, maybe we have some low birth weight babies, and so on and so forth. Babies that are small for their age, and so on. Now, if you look at it economically, there is this direct relationship between education and economic emancipation. Many people, many children at this age, when they become pregnant, the likelihood of they drop out of school. That is the thing, they drop out of school, and the likelihood of coming back to see the four walls of the classroom is usually very slim for a sizable proportion of them. And so if they don't have this, they end up, maybe at class 2, class 3, and we know the implications of that. If you don't have school cert, you cannot go to the university and get a good job. Then it means that they have to take up, menial jobs, little things, that might not really, help them, when they grow up. For having started early, another financial implication is for having started early, the likelihood of having more children than necessary is also there. So they have a lot of children. They keep on bearing children because they cannot, to actually negotiate their fertility might not be seriously. The motivation is there for them to access, these services. That is also there. For the children, even after they are born, because they were not wanted in the first place, they are likely to be abandoned. Where they are not abandoned, the care is not so, seriously there. And when the care is not there, the likelihood also of dying within first year of life is also high in these children. And where they even, let's now assume that, okay, she escapes the baby escapes the first year. Some of them are left on the street because the parents were not prepared for them, and so they grow. They are on the streets at the end of the day. except where there is support. And that is why you find some people, going back to school to do this. Then if you look at it emotionally, having dropped out of school, you sit down and look at yourself. Unfulfilled dreams, dashed hopes, parents not happy with you. It's enough to traumatize somebody, emotionally. And I think these are some of the side effects.
So, doctor, what is the predominance of this occurrence?
Well, they are quite common, especially the things like having of teenage pregnancy in general.
Yes.
Okay, well, teenage pregnancy cuts across, and we look at it in terms of different countries and different societies. In the developed world, for instance, in America, it's about 34 per 100,000 teenagers. Wow. So per 1,000 teenagers, for every 1,000, 34. Wow. So that's, you can imagine how high that is.
That's high.
In the United Kingdom, it's about 40 per 1,000 teenagers. In countries like South Korea, it's quite low. It's about 2.7 per 1,000 adolescents. In Nigeria, here, the prevalence of, as is measured in terms of percentage from the National Demographic and Health Survey statistics, and it's actually put at 23%. 23% of our adolescents. That means of all the children in Nigeria who are between the, children, we call them all the adolescents in Nigeria who are between the age of 11 and 19, 23% of them are pregnant. Wow. That sort of thing. So it's quite a big problem, as you can see. One of the things that actually fuels it in this country is in the northern part of the country where we have early childhood marriage. So those are the things that are taken, because in that part of the country, it's actually as high as 45%. Wow. But in the southwest, like in Lagos where we are, it's about 9%, which shows that it is actually a bit low here. Better, So it is actually quite prevalent. It's a global problem. It's estimated that there are about 130 million teenage pregnancies in the whole world in each year. And of course, this has tentacles, because like she rightly said, it translates to things like unwanted pregnancy and abortion.